James Harden's biggest problem is on full display again. After getting swept, he just told us he's willing to do whatever it takes and that he doesn't have any pride, he just wants to win. Only we heard the same thing in Houston, in Brooklyn, and in Philly, and even worse, in LA, James told us,
"I'm not a system player, I am a system."
We can't trust his words, but why do all of his teams keep falling into the same trap? I have an answer, only I think it's going to make you angry. Because the Cavs were a few right moves away from making the NBA Finals. Then they chose to trade a good trade asset in former All-Star Darius Garland for a 36-year-old Harden. Which means, if they don't learn from the warnings of James Harden's past, the Cavs could go from Eastern Conference Finals to a forced rebuild shockingly fast. Because I have a question for you. How does a man who averages 30.4 points and 8.8 assists a game while winning the 2018 MVP still get hate? Well, let's talk about the James Harden paradox. The cost of being an NBA superstar is that you are always on the cusp of a legendary status. True legends are born in the clutch and cemented by winning championships. But the better James Harden has been, the worse he has choked in his biggest moments. If we go all the way back to the 2012 Finals, against the Heat, Harden went from 6th man of the year to averaging just 12.4 points per game on 37.5% shooting. Not great, but he was young. We could excuse this if he rebounded later in his career, but instead, a pattern emerged. After this series, James Harden was traded to the Rockets where he became a superstar. But in their first big run in 2015, the second-seeded Rockets found themselves down 3-2 against the Clippers in the second round. His isolation style of play was working, but in a possible elimination Game 6 versus LA, in the first 3 quarters, James Harden shot just 5 for 20 and he was benched for the entire fourth. And as Harden watched on, playing 0 minutes, in that fourth, Houston outscored Los Angeles by 25 points as Corey Brewer and Josh Smith combined for 29 in the final 12 minutes. A superstar who almost won MVP getting benched in the clutch is already bad enough, but at least the Rockets won Game 7. Only 1 round later, in an elimination Game 5 against the Warriors, Harden would shoot 2 for 11 with 12 turnovers as the Rockets were bounced. This was his true coming out season, but like I said, the better he's been in the regular season, the worse he plays in the playoffs when his team needs him. In the first round this season against the Raptors, Harden was excellent. Donovan Mitchell did not play great, but James Harden averaged 20 points and 6 assists per game, and he helped bail the Cavs out of round 1. But then he proved his consistency is just not there. But before we continue, I'm very excited to thank FlexiSpot for sponsoring today's video. FlexiSpot just sent me their E7 Pro standing desk because standing desks are better for your health. They encourage you to get some movement throughout the day. I personally get very sore from sitting and I get some knots in my back. Their E7 Pro standing desk not only has helped that, but look at how incredible this desk is. It's versatile. Because it moves up and down, you can use it to stand and work, or you can use it as a dining room table. It is incredibly stable. Watch here as I move the desk up and down and this book just does not fall. And it has 440 pounds of capacity. So I can even climb up onto it and lay down with no problems at all. It is also the best time to get a standing desk or an office chair or even a bed because FlexiSpot is having a massive 10th brand day and Memorial Day sale with up to 80% off. FlexiSpot also just teamed up for a collaboration with Paul George, which is very exciting. And on top of this, FlexiSpot is hooking us up. They're giving us a promo code for $30 off. That promo code is YTE730 for $30 off. And also special discounts apply to medicals, students and graduates, teachers, and the military. So thank you to FlexiSpot for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to go use that promo code YTE730 for $30 off. And now let's get back into the video. Against the Pistons in Game 7 of round 2, he shot 2 for 10 with 9 points. And against the Knicks in the elimination Game 4, 2 of 8 from the field and 0 for 6 from 3. It is very possible that in this year's playoffs, James Harden was in his head because his entire career has shown us that he is a Hall of Famer who just can't get it done in the clutch. The 2015 playoffs were bad, but the 2017 playoffs were arguably worse. In the second round against the Spurs, first in Game 5, Manu Ginobili swatted away a James Harden game-tying attempt, and then in Game 6, with both Hall of Famer Tony Parker and MVP candidate Kawhi Leonard sitting out, the Rockets were facing elimination against a depleted Spurs team, and surprise, they lost by 39 points as Harden shot 2 for 11. Really? James Harden is one of the best scorers we have seen in modern basketball, but he is the system that he told us he was. In his prime, Harden was a man who would isolate for 20 seconds if he wanted to, then either drive to the basket and take a layup, take a step back jumper, or throw a last second pass. His entire team lived and died on his shoulders. So a real and fair argument can be made that in James Harden's past, none of the teams that he played for would have been successful without him. But at the end of the day, the price of stardom is also expectations. And no showing elimination games adds up. And even more unfortunate here, this is what should make Cavs fans truly angry about betting on an old James Harden. And do we remember this clip from Harden's final days as a Rocket?
James Harden definitely had a pregame meal, averaging 17 points per game over the last 4.
James Harden was so large to begin the 2021 season that it was speculated he was wearing a fat suit so that the Rockets would listen to his trade demand and move him. But the reason the Rockets were awful after almost making the NBA Finals was that Harden's personal relationship with Chris Paul went south, and so he told the front office he'd demand a trade if they did not bring in Russell Westbrook over Paul. The Rockets listened to Harden and traded Chris Paul for Russell Westbrook. Russ and Harden also had chemistry issues, so Russ spent just 1 year in Houston before they traded him for John Wall. And after the Rockets did what he wanted, they were no longer a contender, so Harden demanded a trade to Brooklyn, where again, he didn't stick things out. He was the first member of that big three to demand a move. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were the problem to James Harden, so he went to Philly, where he infamously blamed Philly's front office by saying,
"We said it again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of again."
At every turn of his career after his Thunder years, James Harden has decided that everyone else is the problem, and when the situation no longer suits him, he's out. But at what point does he look at himself in the mirror and think, hey, if there's somehow drama with every team I'm a part of, maybe I am the drama. The Cavs are playing with fire here. They traded for a player who has always been a ticking time bomb. But even worse, the biggest problem, these kinds of issues would be forgotten if James Harden won. If he continued to be a franchise player when the lights are the brightest. The James Harden paradox is so damaging because of the fact that at times his team can rely on him to be a star that leads them to wins or even close to playoff glory. But then when he is needed the most, he just disappears. That is why Shaq said during this year's playoffs,
James is, doing what James usually does. Disappear.
As this pattern and this paradox was really seen the most with the 2018 Rockets. The 2018 Rockets won 65 games and were only 1/2 away from taking down the Warriors with Kevin Durant in the Western Conference Finals. And James Harden was a star in this 7-game series, averaging around 29 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. But in Game 7, the Rockets not only blew an 11-point first half lead, but Harden also shot 2 for 13 in a close loss. Golden State would go on to sweep the Cavs in the NBA Finals. This one game completely changed James Harden's legacy. His heavy ISO style of play could have been remembered for producing a championship, not for being a style that works in the regular season but fails in the playoffs. But that is the narrative we have now. Kobe even went on record in 2019 as Harden was averaging over 40 points per game in a 39-game stretch, saying,
"What do you think of what he's doing right now?"
I'm not a fan of in terms of winning championships. I don't think that style is ever going to win championships.
So are you saying you don't think James Harden and the Rockets, as constructed, can win a title?
Not with this style of play, it won't win.
And time has proven Kobe right. Only, can we really blame James Harden for the 2018 playoff loss? In that Game 7 versus Golden State, the Rockets as a whole missed an NBA record 27 straight threes, as they only lost by 9 points. I actually think of all of James Harden's no-shows in big games, while this is the one that had the largest stakes, I also think it's the most defensible one. But the problem was twofold. One, this game felt like fate. As Shaq's words are true, James Harden might have more bad elimination games than any star we have ever seen. The end of this year's Cavs season was very predictable, but 2, it's also what came after this loss. As a star, Harden keeps telling us he wants to sacrifice to win a championship. But then, when it comes to actually changing his ways, we've seen the complete opposite. His actions say he is the system, and even if his ISO style of play has lessened, the lack of defense has continued to stay the same. And we need to consider that the point of this trade was to take the final step and win a championship, which is why if I were a Cavs fan, I would be extremely angry about this trade because the evidence is just overwhelming here. You cannot trust James Harden in big games. Darius Garland could have been traded for anyone else. If you make a move for a 36-year-old, you are really locking in on that trade working. But from 2022 to 2025, Harden has been nowhere to be seen on the stat sheet in elimination games each and every year. In 2022 with Philly, round 2, we have a game 6 elimination game. We have James Harden shooting 4 for 9 with 11 points in a loss. That's fine. It was his first year with the team. But then in 2023, against the Celtics, second round again, this time game 7. This time Harden shoots 3 for 11 with 9 points and 5 turnovers in a loss. So he goes and blames Daryl Morey. Then he ends up on the Clippers. And his story just keeps getting worse because it keeps repeating. In the final 2 games against the Mavs, Harden shot 2 for 12 in game 5, then 5 for 16 in game 6. The Clippers were sent home. Then last season, first round versus the Nuggets, game 7, Harden shot 2 for 8 in what has become the most predictable story we've seen. James Harden is consistently excellent in the regular season. He raises the ceiling of any team he is on, and he can even give you some good playoff performances. But when your season is on the line, it's almost like he's better off on the bench, especially when you add in his defense. So now we're hearing after a sweep that he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. But at this point, there's simply no way we can trust him. And unfortunately, the Cavs had the receipts. They had every warning right in front of them, but they chose to ignore all of those warnings. And if they pay James Harden again, why would we expect a lifelong pattern to suddenly change? So there we have it. Thank you for watching today's video. If you did, I really think you're going to like the videos that are on the screen. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You are awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day and cue that music.